if you just placed me here and I didn't know, I might even guess we were in a North American city. On any given day, we usually don't know where we'll end up. We're actually not sure where we're gonna get to tonight. So in this episode, we find ourselves in a self-described ugly city, before traveling a bit farther downriver to a town which we had been told was a near-apocalyptic industrial wasteland. But sometimes, places are more than a first impression. There's something very interesting about it all, to look at it and to wonder at all of its purpose. I'm Maya, and this is Aladino. In mid-November, we converted our 28-foot sailboat into a riverboat, and we started going north, from the Mediterranean all the way to the North Sea. In front of us, we had 2,000 kilometers and 200 locks. Join us as we navigate river currents, discover incredible places, cruise through canals, wait out a global pandemic in the heart of France, and record the whole voyage with a new episode every Friday. This is North Through the Continent. We're going north through the continent. Rivers just keep moving. They flow through towns, then into a forest, next weaving beneath the bridges of a bustling city, sometimes allowing cattle to sip their cool waters as they roll through green fields. So as we moved down the Rhine River, our view kept shifting. From the modern city of Cologne to the heaving industrial heart of Duisburg, join us for the very last episode before we reach the Netherlands.
Quentin Tarantino playing tonight.
Cologne is an ugly city. At least, that's what everyone from Cologne had made sure to tell us before we even arrived, which we thought was a bit strange. Perhaps a better description of Cologne is that it's a modern city. It had to be rebuilt following near-complete devastation in World War II. So with a bootstrap budget and the goal to just get it done, Cologne now looks like, well, like most North American cities, if I'm being frank. But Cologne is much more than its looks. It's one of the last semi-affordable European cities to live in, and it has a vibrant art culture which has spilled over to the streets. It's filled with international culture and food, and of course it's famous for Carnival, a wild months-long party which we unfortunately were not in time for. Good morning from Cologne! So last night, after seeing this movie screen playing the video right by the harbor, we were kind of thinking maybe we'll go watch it, but we headed back to the boat. And as we headed back to the boat, we actually met some people on the dock, super, super lovely, and had a really lovely evening on magic carpet talking to them. So we didn't see the movie, but that's okay. So now today, we're off to go see Cologne. Our new friends are actually just leaving on their boat.
There to go!
And then this evening, we're going to meet up with some patrons from here. It's a good day ahead. So one of our patrons actually suggested a bit of a walking tour of Cologne, which the Germans call Köln, but I really haven't been able to say that properly.
No, say it again.
Köln?
Köln.
Köln. Köln. It's difficult for some reason. Anyway, so he suggested a walking tour, and this is the first point of interest. Welcome to the Cologne Cathedral. I just talked about how Cologne had to be completely rebuilt, but this cathedral did actually manage to survive the war. It's one of the few signs of old Cologne still standing, and it's a big one. It's the third tallest church in the world, and the tallest twin-spired church in the world. Its proportions are massive, and despite being hit by 14 bombs during World War II, it's still here, after a bit of restoration work, of course.
It looks like it has fallen victim to a barbecue.
Okay, so we are out of the cathedral now and we are walking over to Brüsselerplatz, which is the next place to look at. I think it's just a nice sort of plaza. And from there we continue on into Cologne, sort of trendy art district, which I'm very excited about. I think we'll get some lunch there. And apparently it's well known for street art. So we'll go around and look at some of the art on the walls. I think we have to go inside, Amore. I'm a real sucker for a European bakery. I mean, just look at this. How could you just walk past? We decided to get one apple strudel for the road. So what's your verdict on the apple strudel, my darling?
Oh, I like apple strudels. They're simple, there's a lot of apple, less little sugar, little cream, all those fluff puffs.
They're good. We kept walking, stopping to notice the few old houses which did survive the devastating war and which are now surrounded by more modern homes. Further on, we saw the Colonius Broadcasting Tower, a telecommunications tower which looks over the city. So right now we are on Venloer Strasse, and this was recommended to us as a really cool sort of hip area of town. And so far, like all the people I'm seeing around and everything, it reminds me a lot of Commercial Drive in Vancouver, like a very alternative scene. Apparently there's a lot of street art here and cool cafes from all over the world. So yeah, let's go check it out. This area of Cologne is called Ehrenfeld, but it's supposed to be the artistic district. Cologne may not have the windy cobblestone streets of most European cities, but to say it's ugly is a step too far. It's not beautiful in a classical sense, but it is interesting. It's got a youthful personality, a quirky eccentricity, and the nice feeling that comes with actually being able to afford things. The streets are lined with simple and cheap places to eat. Although I'm sure you could have a luxury experience here if you tried, I got the feeling that that's not really what Cologne is all about. It's about good simple beers and the type of free-spiritedness that can only be born in a blank canvas kind of place. I liked Cologne. It felt like a city where I could just live, where I could spend my evenings going to cool art functions and eating international food, and not trying too hard to keep up with the Joneses. Okay, so we are walking home now. It's around 5 o'clock. And it's time to start getting ready because we're having a few patrons come over to the boat at 7, which is always really exciting when we get to a bigger city and there's people that we know there or that we'll get to know soon. So we're looking forward to that. We bought some local beer from here. The local beer here is called Kulsch. Kulsch? How do you say it? Kulsch. Kulsch. I won't ever say it right. But we bought some of that anyway. We'll put it in the fridge and then I think we'll go out with our patrons as well. We had a lovely time with our patrons and ate perhaps the best pizza I've ever had outside of Italy. Huge thanks to Sven, Andreas, and Christoph for the great evening. But as always happens on any adventure, it was almost time to carry on. We are leaving Cologne. It is morning time, and we're actually not sure where we're going to get to tonight. We've got two options. The first option is stopping in the city of Düsseldorf. It's, how far away is it? Like 60 kilometers?
Something like that.
Something like that. And the other option is the town of Duisburg?
Duisburg, yeah.
Duisburg, and that's 100 kilometers away. So it kind of depends on how we're feeling, where we decide to stop. One's a big city, one's a smaller town. You'll find out when we do. Our first option for the night, Dusseldorf, would be a more classic European city experience, cobblestone and little streets and all of that. The second option, Duisburg, was described as more of an industrial wasteland, an unfortunate town which apparently kind of plopped down in the midst of a bunch of heavy machinery and tried to make a go of it. Guess which one I was rooting for? If you guessed Dusseldorf, you'd actually be wrong. Duisburg was described in such an interesting way that I actually really wanted to see what was going on there.
Slowly entering Düsseldorf, and I think we will continue. So I don't think Düsseldorf will be a stop for us. It is still pretty early, 3 in the afternoon. So we just continue. I don't know, maybe we'll make it to Duisburg, and otherwise we'll stop somewhere on the way there.
We passed by Dusseldorf, and yep, from the water it looked like a beautiful European city, but we were headed into stranger territory. The sky and the ships keep rolling by, and the river is flat and wide. Hopeful little patches of sand appear and then disappear as we trundle past. The railways, the highways, and the rivers, they all move through the places where nobody stops, where the ash heaps and the flames and the billowing smoke turn the sky gray even when it's not. I still don't know where we'll be tonight, perhaps somewhere amidst all of this great clanking machinery, but for now we're just floating past, looking at the shells of things, and guessing at what soft lives inhabit them. As we rolled past industry and the sun rolled across the sky, we approached the turnoff for Duisburg. So we turned sideways, pushing into the channel, the entirety of the Rhine River against us, dragging us down, tearing us away, but with a great heaving and smoking effort, we squeezed inside and the Rhine flowed angrily on. Now we were in a small side channel. It felt eerily empty. Skeletal cranes and empty buildings glared down at us. I was reminded for some reason of the eyes of T.J. Eckelberg in The Great Gatsby. When F. Scott Fitzgerald described those eyes, he wrote that, above the grey land and the spasms of bleak dust which drift endlessly over it, you perceive, after a moment, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg are blue and gigantic. Their retinas are 1 yard high. They look out of no face, but instead from a pair of enormous yellow spectacles which pass over a non-existent nose. For some reason, I could imagine the eyes of C. Steinweg looking out over the bleak landscape in much the same way. It's an industrial area. This whole section of the river has just been almost nothing but industry, and Duisburg has actually made the most of what it has available, and it's turned one of its old industrial areas into a park where you can walk around and look at all the old equipment and climb up the old towers and all of that. And it does actually sound very interesting, but it's at a bit of a distance from the harbor, and without any kind of transportation, I don't think we're going to get there tonight. So I think tonight will probably just be a stopover. We're going to stop, we're going to eat, we're going to sleep, and then we'll probably be on the river again tomorrow. And from what I've heard, tomorrow is going to be a fairly similar day in terms of the scenery around us.
We're going to get into the Netherlands tomorrow.
Yes, that's true. We are going to get into the Netherlands. I guess I should be more excited.
Yes, we're leaving the Rhine behind. We might enter the IJssel.
Yeah. So there's all of that to look forward to, and some more industrial views tomorrow. But there is something cool about all these industrial views, actually. When they're really so heavily industrial like they are in this section, and it's not just one chemical plant belching a bunch of fumes. There's something very interesting about it all, to look at it and to wonder at all of its purpose. There was an undeniable beauty here, a strange, otherworldly beauty to be sure, but the town of Duisburg seemed to have embraced its surroundings rather than try to block them out. Old machinery made for interesting statues in town, and even the modern buildings seemed to pay homage to their roots. There was an older section of town, but it was strangely deserted. When we started walking along the water is when we found some real signs of life. The waterfront was a hip and popular place with outdoor restaurants and a really nice industrial atmosphere. We hadn't planned on eating out, but we kind of wanted to join in the fun. We succumbed.
God damn it, we succumbed. I even ate something before leaving, hoping not to want anything.
This is a cool place. We couldn't help but sit down.
But it is pretty cool.
So I am actually quite, surprised about this place. We heard of it from someone in Cologne who said it was just kind of a nothing place. There wasn't much to do or see here other than that industrial park that I talked about. And coming in with the boat, we definitely weren't expecting anything super nice. We thought it would just be super industrial, and it is. It's very industrial, but the way that it's been built up, and like this cafe just by the water, and there's these old cranes everywhere, and it's a really cool atmosphere actually. So yeah, I'm very pleasantly surprised. I really didn't think we would be eating out anywhere tonight. I thought we'd just be on the boat and have an early night, which actually I was kind of looking forward to, but anyway, this is also very, very cool. Are you happy? Mm-hmm. Good. And so the sun set over Duisburg and we returned home. The next day we would finally reach the Netherlands and finally leave the Rhine River behind us. But that whole story is for the next episode. Thank you so much to all of you for watching. If you really liked this episode, we'd love it if you could give it a thumbs up. That really helps us out. And if you would like to be notified of every new addition to this series, you can click the subscribe button and the notification bell to make sure you actually get those notifications. The subscribe button doesn't actually seem to be doing much these days. We post a new story every Friday. And an extra big thank you to our patrons for making these episodes possible. For as little as $2 a month, patrons get behind-the-scenes access into what we're doing in real time, direct messaging with us, and also updates every week in the form of Maya's journal entries. Lastly, an extra big thank you to these folks for always going above and beyond to ensure the continuation of Sailing Magic Carpet. We'll see you all next week.